thou that thus be screened in night, so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name, I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of thy tongue's uttering, and yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike.
Romeo and Juliet is the story of the agony and ecstasy of young love. Two teenagers who struggle desperately but in vain to come together despite the hatred of their families for each other and the dead weight of authority set against them. The play was first staged in 1595, a period of freedom for the young dramatist that would vanish in later years following the execution of his friend the Earl of Essex and never return. Shakespeare, like Romeo and Juliet, discovered that passion could be dangerous and moved on into even darker waters. What deep chords has Shakespeare sounded in the human mind that transformed the story of two infatuated teenagers into such a popular and enduring play?
Yon light is not daylight. I know it I. It is some meteor the sun exhaled, to be to thee this night a torch-bearer, and light thee on thy way to Mantua. Therefore stay yet. Thou needst not to be gone.
It's a sort of quintessence of everybody's ideal moment of first love. I think it's absolutely as personal as that. This kind of immediacy, faint absurdity of utter, total, head-over-heels commitment. And we are, I think, early in the play, invited to smile at their extraordinary, their absolute belief that this is it for all time.
I think Romeo and Juliet's always been a popular play, partly because it's about love, and then it's two young people in love, and then on top of that, it's the opposition of their parents, and it has an ending that's sad, but might just have been happy, only things go wrong. And I think that combination, which would be true to a lot of plots of all sorts of popular stories, is the basic appeal of the thing.
Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet, if thou swear it, thou mayest prove false. Lovers perjure, as they say, Jove laughs. O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkst I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo.
Shakespeare doesn't write many prologues, but he does here in Romeo and Juliet. The fearful passage of their death-marked love. Those syllables are very, very strongly accented in that line. We know that the play is heading for the tomb, but then we all are. So there's a kind of quintessential, archetypal intensity about the play that I think makes it popular. It's accessible.
It's night. Lovers' thoughts are filled with wild imaginings. The encounter of Romeo and Juliet at Juliet's balcony is a transforming experience, a revelation that most of us will have perhaps only once or twice in our lives. For many, this scene, arguably the most famous in all of Shakespeare's works, contains the heart and core of the play. It touches upon the central questions: what engenders love and hate, driving the bearers of these emotions to such extremes of action?
It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. It is not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some other business, to entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return.
I think the balcony scene, not just the most famous scene in the play. You know, if you say to somebody, what's your image of Romeo and Juliet, it's usually they think of a balcony with the two lovers. That's what's on the cigar labels, after all. But The balcony scene is the scene which is a point of change for the two people we're most interested in. And it has a very interesting shape to it. Romeo and Juliet both begin very tentative, and she in particular becomes clearer and clearer about declaring herself in the course of the scene.
The balcony scene is, of course, the central scene of the play, the heart of the play. Yes, I do think it is. The lovers only really meet 5 times in the play anyway. The Capulet party scene, the balcony scene itself, the little scene at Lawrence's cell, the dawn parting, and the final meeting, not quite simultaneous, in the tomb. But yes, the fervour, the commitment, the romanticism, which we're also allowed to smile at, is the distillation of the mood of the play in the balcony scene itself, I think.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father, and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though, not a Montague. What's Montague? 'Tis not hand nor foot, nor arm nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title.
Juliet's marvellous practicality and Romeo's, I suppose, utterly sincere romantic absurdity in the scene is tremendously enjoyable, I think. The orchard walls are high and hard to climb. With love's light wings did I all perch these walls. Again, there's a lovely acting choice there. I mean, is he slightly tongue-in-cheek as he comes back with all these high romantic answers, or is he wonderfully, youthfully naive with all these high romantic answers?
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here.
With love's light wings did I overperch these walls. For stony limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do that dares love attempt? Therefore thy kinsmen are no let to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
My kinsmen will kill thee if they find thee here. Alas, there lies more peril in thine eyes, he says to her. They're wonderfully set off against each other, I think. But of course, when she lets go with romantic commitments, it just wipes him off the board, doesn't it? My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. I mean, what a wonderful sentence. What a wonderful sentence. Yeah, the core and the heart of the play, surely, surely.
Will thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
Of thy love's faithful vow for mine.
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I ought it were to give again.
Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
But to be frank and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite.
Juliet is only just on the threshold of womanhood. a vulnerable, childlike angel, wooed by a teenager who is completely defenseless against the onslaught of emotions he has never experienced until now. But should such unfettered emotions, combined with such youthfulness, simply be accepted without a second thought? Has Shakespeare issued a challenge to us over the centuries and made us ask ourselves, should we feel uncomfortable at the extreme youth of the lovers? I think that this is a question whose relevance today is indisputable, and one which we must confront.
Modern audiences should certainly feel uncomfortable at the extreme youth of Juliet, and so should Elizabethan audiences. If anybody tells you that 14 was a normal marriage age in Shakespeare's England, don't believe them. Average marriage ages for women were 18 and 19 at the time this play was written.
Oh, bid me leap rather than marry Paris, from off the battlements of any tower, or walk in thievish ways, or bid me lurk where serpents are, or bid me go into a new-made grave and hide me with a dead man in his tomb. Things that to hear them told have made me tremble, and I will do it without fear or doubt to live an unstained wife to my sweet love.
Shakespeare wants the youthful commitment, the first love feeling from this play. He also wants pure sacrifices. These two utterly innocent young people are the victims of their parents' boring strife and wickedness, and sacrifices have to be pure. It's a long religious tradition, and Shakespeare wants that and makes certain that he gets it.
But I think it's important, first of all, that they're young and impetuous and not experienced, and therefore only discovering how to deal with something that neither of them really knew about before. So you've got that sort of awkwardness that seems very real. It looks like, even although the word teenage is recently invented, it looks like this is the Elizabethan equivalent of teenagers in the sense of trying to work out how they are themselves in relation to what people think they ought to do. And then, as their relationship progresses, very rapidly to a marriage, which they assent to. They are given the benefit of clergy in that respect. And then to their first night together, and we see the aftermath of that. It's as though the whole of sexual maturing and experience and understanding has been put on a kind of roller coaster. It's much too fast. And that's both exciting and slightly appalling. And the fact that the people are young adds to that.
Wilt thou be gone? It's not yet near day. It was the nightingale and not the lark that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear. Nightly she sings on yon pomegranate tree. Believe me, love, it was the nightingale.
It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks to lace the severing sky in yonder east.
The good die young is a phrase that Shakespeare may well have had in mind when plotting the demise of Mercutio. And how well he knew the effect of the merciless and senseless destruction of young life. Mercutio, the lover of life, confident, loved and admired, clever Mercutio, the philosopher, cut down because, ironically, Romeo wanted to prevent him being killed. What, then, is the effect of Mercutio's murder on the play's action?
Good Mercutio!
Away, Tybalt!
With a death that is brutal, accidental, messy, a sort of shuddering surprise in the play. The play has looked forward from its prologue to the death of the lovers in the tomb. We're expecting that. That's part of the satisfaction of expectation in the play. But the death of Mercutio is a horrible shock.
Art thou hurt? Aye, a scratch. A scratch. But 'tis enough. Courage, man, the hurt cannot be much. No,
It is not so deep as a well, nor so wide as a church door. But 'tis enough. 'Twill serve. Ask for me tomorrow, and thou wilt find me a grave man.
Of course, he's very bawdy as well, Mercutio. He can't even tell the time without making a bawdy joke. You remember where the hand of the dial is when the clock reaches noon. So all of those things are tremendously attractive in the part. He gets the superb set speech about Queen Mab, which is powered by a kind of imaginative energy that one doesn't find anywhere else in the play, I think. And also, he gets one of the best death line puns in all drama, doesn't he? Ask for me tomorrow and you shall find me a grave man. What a way to go. What a way to go.
Romeo thinks all for the best when he tries to stop the fight, and he's the direct cause of the fight going wrong and Mercutio being killed. And then when he turns on Tybalt, he's in an absolute fury. Very often on stage that's played very savagely because Romeo's beside himself.
Now, Tybalt, take the villain back again that late thou gavest me. For Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads. Stay for thine to keep him company. Either thou or I or both must go with him.
One of the particularly attractive things about Romeo is that he turns himself into a complete prat sometimes. When he's in an agony of despair and he's lying on the ground weeping and wailing and failing, you know, I've seen performances of that where you just think the friar really ought to just slap him on the face and tell him to pull himself together. The friar says so, but he doesn't usually use violence. And then the nurse comes in and you get a sense that everything is falling below a level of tragic dignity, and I think that's very good.
Without the friar's intervention, Romeo and Juliet would probably have been miserably alive instead of immortalised in death. Should he have attempted to play God? I know that as an actor I was made painfully aware by Shakespeare of the dilemma he poses even more powerfully in later plays. Should the friar have followed his conscience, as I think we all would have done? Or should he keep within the rules of the society he administers to, and let events take their own course? His role is pivotal in the action. Is he the moral centre of the play?
Get thee to thy love as was decreed. Ascend the chamber. Hence and comforter. But look, thou stay not till the watch be set, for then thou canst not pass to Mantua, where thou shalt live, till we can find a time to blaze thy marriage. Reconcile thy friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 20,000 times more joy than thou wentst forth in lamentation.
Two ways of playing the friar, I think. A well-meaning, fussy old bungler, or somebody serious and gritty who genuinely does want to do something to resolve the situation which is destroying Verona, the family feud. This marriage might, he thinks, bring your household's rancour to pure love. So I myself incline to the second reading of the part, but you can see the first version well played in all sorts of stagings of the play. I don't find all that much mileage in the idea of blaming Friar Lawrence for what happens in Romeo and Juliet.
Tomorrow night, look that thou lie alone. Let not the nurse lie with thee in their chamber. Take thou this vial. Being then in bed, and this distilling liquor drink thou off.
So I think the friar is a pivotal character, not because he's a guide to what is the right view of things, but because he's an indication of how easy it is for right thinking not to turn out right in the end.
But these two people, the only two adults in the play who know what's happening, with their affection for these people they still regard as children. Stand up, and you be a man, with the implication that you may not be yet. It's almost as though she's come to smack his bottom for being so childish. There's a feeling of that about it.
Stand up, and you be a man. For Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. Why should you fall into so deep an hole? Sir, the death's the end of all.
Speaks thou of Juliet? Where is she, and how doth she? What says my concealed lady to our cancelled love?
Oh, sir, she says nothing, but weeps and weeps. And now falls on her bed, and then starts up again, and Tybalt cries, and then on Romeo calls, and then down falls again.
At the end of the play, the prince says to the friar, we still have known thee for a holy man, which implies that he will be pardoned. But the friar has still failed to secure what he wanted, except by very extreme means. You know, the friar wanted to reconcile the two warring houses by the marriage. Well, it's happened, but not the right way.
This was always meant to be a tragedy, and Friar Lawrence is trying to turn it into a comedy.
Death of evil leaves us undeniably feeling that justice has been done. But the death of beauty, of love, of joy, we rail against it, and Shakespeare knows that in order for humanity to change its bigotry, intolerance, and blind injustice, events must be shattering to the human mind and spirit. He gives us twin suicides. Does this fact secure the play's mythic status? 3 deaths. Young people whose only crime was to love too strongly. Paris must die for love of Juliet, she and Romeo for the love of one another. Their suicides side by side in the cold vault, when they should have been warm in one another's embrace, leaves us horrified at the emotional bankruptcy of those who should have protected them from themselves.
The death scene absolutely fulfills expectations and gives the play its necessary shape and indeed its mythic status. We know from the prologue that this is a death-marked love. We know throughout the play that this marriage in the tomb is where the play is heading.
Oh, my love, my wife. Death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath hath had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks. Death's pale flag is not advanced there.
The death scene of the two lovers is one of the most famous scenes in Shakespeare, and it's interesting to have a play with that and the balcony scene, you know, iconic scenes people know even if they don't know the play very well. The lovers speak slightly differently in the scene in the tomb. Romeo speaks more elaborately. He has this extraordinary personification of death as a rival lover.
Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is amorous, and keeps thee here in dark to be his paramour?
For fear of that, I still will stay with thee.
Time and time again through the play, the idea of death as Juliet's lover is presented. When Romeo arrives at the tomb, he's talking about her beauty, which is still unspoiled by, as he takes it, as he thinks. I mean, the irony is that, of course, she's still beautiful because she isn't dead, but he thinks that death has got her in that tomb, in that grave, to be his paramour. That insubstantial death is amorous. This it's a strange and strong and disturbing idea right through the play. But Romeo and Juliet is operating in something of this territory, it seems to me, throughout. Thus with a kiss I die, Romeo's last words. And the last action of Juliet is to push the dagger into her body. And the dagger as a phallic symbol is a constant in European literature. The consummation of love in the grave is where the play has been going from the beginning, and it's where it ends. There is no other destination, and I think the mythic status of the play depends on that disturbing equation.
Oh, churl! Drunk all and left no friendly drop to help me after! I will kiss thy lips. I believe some poison yet doth hang on them to make me die with a restorative. Thy lips are warm.
But you know, to meet, to love, to be separated by a horrible accident, to imagine that you're going to meet again and to die. I mean, what more typical version of the human journey do you want than the story of this play? It's all there.
Oh, happy dagger. This is thy sheath. There rust. And let me die.
This is it for all time.
I think Romeo and Juliet's always been a popular play, partly because it's about love, and then it's two young people in love, and then on top of that it's the opposition of their parents, and it has an ending that's sad, but might just have been happy, only things go wrong. And I think that combination, which would be true to a lot of plots of all sorts of popular stories, is the basic appeal of the thing.
Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet, if error, and light thee on thy way to Mantua, therefore stay yet. Thou needst not to be gone.
It's a sort of quintessence of everybody's ideal moment of first love. I think it's absolutely as personal as that. This kind of immediacy, faint absurdity of utter, total, head-over-heels commitment. And we are, I think, early in the play, invited to smile at their extraordinary, their absolute belief that
man art thou that thus bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name, I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of thy tongue's uttering, and yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike.
Romeo and Juliet is the story of the agony and ecstasy of young love. Two teenagers who struggle desperately but in vain to come together despite the hatred of their families for each other and the dead weight of authority set against them. The play was first staged in 1595, a period of freedom for the young dramatist that would vanish in later years following the execution of his friend the Earl of Essex and never return. Shakespeare, like Romeo and Juliet, discovered that passion could be dangerous and moved on into even darker waters. What deep chords has Shakespeare sounded in the human mind that transformed the story of two infatuated teenagers into such a popular and enduring play?
Yon light is not daylight. I know it I. It is some meteor the sun exhaled, to be to thee this night a torch